Good evening. So I guess it's Pesach, so we're going to talk about Pesach. Every single one of us wants to experience at the highest level and the deepest level a sense of freedom, a sense of independence. When we come to the holiday of Pesach, this is a time where we can literally tap in to a cosmic spiritual force that will give us the possibility to attain that freedom not only on Pesach, but as well during the rest of the year. It's very interesting that Yom Kippur is the day of Teshuvah, and every day of the year we have to do Teshuvah. Pesach is the day where we have to remind ourselves of the coming out of Egypt, but then again, every day we have to remind ourselves of the coming out of Egypt. Shavuot is a holiday where we receive the Torah, but every day we say in the present tense, Noten HaTorah. So what is the meaning of these different holidays where the actual holiday is the center? If we're doing it every day, and every day we're supposed to live with these different layers of our reality, why is it that we have these different holidays? The answer to this is that there's a central force which nourishes and nurtures every one of the days of the year. During Yom Kippur, the power to do tshuva and to return to God every day comes from Yom Kippur. The power to study Torah comes from Shavuot. The power to be free comes from this holiday. And therefore, I'd like to invite you tonight to discover a little about your freedom. What is freedom? My father-in-law, blessed memory, once asked a question. Please forgive me for my voice. I overdid it during the holiday. When I grew up in the 80s, the USSR was a communist regime. But nevertheless, we found a group of Jews which were very dedicated, that studied and they were teaching Torah, even though they knew that if they were caught, they would be sent to Siberia or to another working camp, or maybe shot to death. My father-in-law once asked a question. He said, who is truly free? Is it the individual that lives in the USSR and communist Russia, and even though he knows death is hanging over his head, he still continues to be observant and to teach and to hold his Judaism with pride and keep Shabbat and keep kosher and women going to the mikveh? Or is the person that comes to America and is able to do all of these things freely, and he doesn't do it? Is freedom a place on planet Earth? It's a destination somewhere in the world, a vacation destination? Or is freedom a state of mind? Today, we live in a society which is completely imprisoned. And when I mean a prison, it's a prison that is imaginary. Let me ask you a question. At what stage in our history in the Torah did the coming out of Egypt, freedom start? When was it? Please be free to answer. It's not a rhetorical question. Just speak loud because I lost my voice. No, I'm just joking. Can you speak louder? In 2448. Yeah, at the year 2448. But what event? What is the event that started the whole process of the Jewish people coming out of Egypt? The 10 plagues. Any other suggestions? Yosef coming down to Egypt. Anything else? The time that we offer the sacrificial lamb. Anything else? When Moses goes to Moshe and Moses goes to Pharaoh and says, "Let my people go." You know what? Let me ask you a more interesting question. At what stage do you feel that you are free? What is freedom for you? Think about it for a second. Is freedom seeing a good series in a movie? Is freedom smoking pot or doing LSD like I do? Pot is DOT, put on fill, and LSD is let's start doubting. And that's why when people see me, they say, "Hi, Rabbi." I don't know how they know.
Yeah, freedom is being able to do anything you want to, but not having to do anything you don't. That's freedom.
Freedom is being able to do whatever you want to, but not.
But you don't have to do anything you don't want to.
And not having to do anything you don't. Okay. So according to that interpretation, I want to spend my day on an Xbox or in the casino, watching movies, wasting my life on Instagram, and not having rules or discipline or anybody tell me what to do. That's freedom. That's freedom.
Yeah, it's the freedom that he chooses. That person chooses to use his freedom that way.
Maybe the freedom chooses to use it. So, what's freedom? If that's freedom, we're in big trouble. Yes? Oh, Yofi, what's your name? Oi. Oi. Oh. Okay. Thank you, Ori. 1 second. I'm gonna get to what you said. Moshe Rabbeinu is going to be nominated to be the liberator of the Jewish people. What makes a person an ultimate leader? How much more so what makes a person somebody that's going to be able to liberate a person which is in slavery? What is slavery? Moshe Rabbeinu was a shepherd. Ro'eh. The Ma'or HaShemesh, one of the commentaries says, what is a ro'eh? What type of a job is this? Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, the 12 tribes, David HaMelech, King David himself. Moshe Rabbeinu were all shepherds. What type of a job is it to be a shepherd? Says the Ma'or HaShemesh that a shepherd works with his hands but has his mind free. Moshe Rabbeinu finds himself in Midian, and there's a phenomenon that's extraordinary. We find a burning bush that's not being consumed by the fire. 7 days. What's happening? Nobody's noticing the phenomenon that's extraordinary, the above nature. I guess everybody was on their cell phone, on Instagram or some other app. Many people were camel pulling their kids to yeshiva or to school. Moshe Rabbeinu looked at the phenomenon and he stopped. Let me step back to see this extraordinary phenomenon. At that moment that Moshe Rabbeinu stops to ask himself a question about what's happening and how is this a lesson for me, this is the moment that God appears to Moshe. And this is going to be the moment that God is going to tell Moshe Rabbeinu, you are the liberator of the Jewish people. So thank you, Lord. You're right. There was a rabbi by the name of Rav Chaim Brisker, one of the greatest Talmudists that ever existed. He had a sharp analysis of any topic and was able to go very quickly to analyze any topic, any question to its depth and look at what's called the yesod, the foundation, the fundamental difference between this situation and that situation. He was once asked, Reb Chaim, how did you get to such a sharp mind? His answer was, it's thanks to my father. My father, the Bet HaLevi, before he would send us to run an errand, would sit me down and ask me a Talmudic question. And after asking me the question, he saw my reaction and asked me, but there's a contradiction somewhere else. How does that make sense? And then he would send me to run an errand. For 20 minutes walking there, 20 minutes back, 20 minutes running the errand, that's a full hour. My mind, I was racking my mind, trying to analyze what's the proper answer. Is this the proper answer? Maybe there's a better answer. In this context, does it work? Does it not work? But if it works here, it doesn't work there. And I racked my mind going to this process of working and stretching, using the neuroplasticity of my brain. And that's how I came to a level of analysis that is so sharp. Freedom starts with the mind. A mind. Did you ever ask yourself, why is it that the default mode on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, etc., is that when you put it on, it's on mute. You have to unmute. Did you ever think about it? Because they know that today, in this ADHD generation, we used to have a PhD generation. Today we have the ADHD. We went up to 3 letters to 4 letters. Who knows what's going to be after? People need to be multitasking. Instead of doing one task well, we need to do many tasks not so well. And pretend and think that we're superheroes because we did that. It's on mute for the simple reason that when a person is working in the office while watching a movie or going to Instagram and having a conversation on the phone at the same time, nobody should hear that that's what they're doing. Why do we have a need to keep our minds busy the whole time? Why is it that so many people, and you see the videos of kids that have been confiscated their iPhones or iPads or that suddenly go in a complete frenzy and are not able to function, and they're just like in a withdrawal. A withdrawal that I want to tell you reminds me of 20 years ago when I went to Ashkelon with a 30-year-old young man that was popping 60 pills of oxycodone a day, enough to kill a horse, and did a rapid detox with Dr. Weissman in Ashkelon in Barzilai, and they had to attach him to a bed, and I could see his body in the withdrawal mode, jumping. It's the same thing, nothing changed. This is that substance, this is another substance, which is just messing up with all the substances of the greatest element I have in my body, which is called my brain. What are people scared of? If you ask me, I think people are scared to hear the voice of their soul. When a person doesn't have a busy mind, that's busy with so many things, being distracted all the time, it finds itself in a situation where it has to deal with silence. And silence can be very scary. Let me share with you my experience with silence. You got it. My experience with silence was the day that I brought my son to yeshiva in Tzfat. Every one of my sons, whenever they went to yeshiva, I made sure to go for 2-3 days, make sure that they're well settled down. My son went to study in Tzfat. Tzfat is a beautiful, holy city. Anybody goes to Israel, you want to go to Tzfat. But Tzfat in general, for most of us, is a one-day trip. You go to the north, you go to Tzfat, you go to the prime real estate right over a cemetery. Only Jews can sell real estate at a high price over a cemetery with tzaddikim, right? And after that, you go to Meron, to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, you go to Tiberias, to Tveria, to Rabbi Meir Malanes, and you had a beautiful day in the north, you go back to Jerusalem, or if you came for other reasons to Israel, you go back to Tel Aviv. Whatever. So here, I'm quote unquote stuck in Tzfat for 3 days. We find ourselves, in every country, there's the noisy part of the country, and there's the silent, more quiet part of the country. Tzfat is definitely the quiet part of Israel. I was in the old city of Tzfat, that's the quiet part of the city within the whole country. It's the quietest. So here I am, Chay Amar, busy rabbi, running right and left all the time on the phone, finding myself now. And I said, this is it. My son was a little embarrassed that I should sit in yeshiva and learn over there with him, because whose father is going to sit with him? So I had to go in the adjacent synagogue, Tzanz, with a beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous view. And I was there with this 70-hour difference with Miami, so nobody could reach me. And I said, I'm going to be a yeshiva boy again. I'm going to go back. I opened my Gemara, my tractate of Talmud, and I'm looking at it. It's looking at me. I'm looking at it. It's looking at me. And for 40 minutes, I just can't cope with this silence and peace. my heart, my thoughts, my whole body is almost in an inner convulsion. That there's nothing happening. There's nothing happening. It's calm. There's no action. Help! It took time, but I got into it. And I want to tell you, it was one of the most beautiful encounters with me. It says in Sefer Yetzirah, a Kabbalah book that's already from the time of Avraham Avinu, some say even Adam HaRishon. It's brought down that there's a place which is higher than us. There's a dimension in the Jewish soul which is higher than whatever is contained by the body. This dimension is called Keter, the crown. Thank you. The crown, Echad. I said the bracha on the bottom before. The crown is above the head. It's above the heart. The crown is called Keter in Hebrew. The word Keter, the crown, comes from the pasuk Katar li Za'ir. Wait for me, be patient a little. So it says in Sefer Yetzirah, what does it mean, be patient? Be quiet, live in the present, in the moment of this silence, and await something greater to be revealed to you. Which means that as long as a person is within the dimension of his limitation and he doesn't want to go out of himself, he's going to be bound to have noise. If you ask me what's the biggest distraction we have, it's not the cell phone, it's nothing. It's our brain, our thoughts. We have at least 75,000 to 100,000 of them a day. The moment a person is able to silence his mind and focus and meditate and contemplate, and he can say, you know what, I want to get out of myself. At that moment he touches this dimension which is called Keter, the crown. So if you want to be royal, you want to be free, you want to be a leader, you want God to speak to you, you want your soul, that power which is an infinite power which has been planted inside of your physical body, that makes you who you are as a Jew, you need to be able to spend time to think. It's not by accident that the greatest inventions in the world and that anything major in the world is driven by Jews. Because we are the greatest thinkers of history. So freedom, contrary to what you said before, is not that I can do whatever I want. Because it's not a question of doing. A person can be in prison and be free. And a person can be out of prison and be a total slave. A slave to his devices, a slave to the culture that's telling you how to dress, what brands to buy, and how much money to make in order to have a successful life. Our sages teach us in the Pirkei Avot, the true free person is somebody who studies Torah. And tell me, what are you talking about? So I want to tell you, when I started as a rabbi, down the street in Golden Beach, I started in somebody's home, the second house on the ocean. The man, Alav Shalom, Eddie Ben Avraham, will dedicate this class to his memory, was making $15 million cash at the time, 28 years ago. That was money. Today it's peanuts. When the inflation and everything after COVID. And had a house on the ocean. And I remember studying this Mishnah with him. And me, the young little rabbi, 25 years old, doesn't have 2 cents to be able to make it. I'm telling him, there's nobody more free than the person that studies Torah. He looks at me and says, Rabbi, I have a Ferrari. I don't know if it was Ferrari, Lamborghini. I always make don't recognize between both. I'm colorblind. So he tells me, I have a house on the ocean, and I'm really contemplating buying myself a boat. So I tell him, how big of a boat? I don't know what he said, 100 feet, I don't know how many feet, I don't know these things anyway. So I asked him, you need such a big boat? Or is it because you saw in a magazine or your neighbor bought a boat like that, so you have to have a boat like that? So who's free, me or you? When something becomes a need, and instead of standing on my own 2 feet, my way of thinking is not my own. It's not my own experience. It's not my own challenges that I overcame that make me into who I am today. I'm not an independent thinker. I remember one day a Russian minister during communist Russia said, what do you think? You Americans, you think that you are free? America is a communist country as well. I asked him, what do you mean? He says, by us, we say it outright. You have no rights. This is the president. This is the ruler. You have no rights. By you do it in a more gentle way. 90% of the population is uneducated. You have the television set, right? TV, Hashetivot, Shagav, right? You have the TV, and through that TV and PR, you're able to feed all the ignorance with whatever you want. You can make one and demonize him, and you can make the other, right, and make him a big hero, right? So you do it in a gentle way, by the back door. We do it openly. Freedom starts with taking a hold of your mind and saying, there's certain things I'm going to feed my mind, and certain things I'm going to stop feeding my mind. Having a session with yourself of just being frustrated. I had one of those recently. I'm going to tell you what it looks like. I was in the office. It was after the holidays. And I got edgy. It was a moment where there was no noise. My little voice inside of me said, Shai, what's happening with you? Look at the potential you have. Look at what you can do. Look at how much time you're wasting. There's 1,440 minutes in a day. And even if you're not wasting time, are you being the best of what you can be? Are you doing your mission? Or are you just being satisfied with tasks that you can just delegate? and do things on a higher level. Maybe it's time to grow out of yourself. And I just left the office. There was nobody at home. I went home and I sat down and I said, no, it's time to just, let's go. So far, this is what we established. Baruch Hashem. It's beautiful, it's fantastic. But whoever does not go forward is going backwards. And then I started writing up all the ideas that came to my mind. And slowly but surely, I was starting to feel a sense of inner peace. When is the last time you felt a sense of inner peace? A sense that you are contributing to the world what the world deserves that you should contribute to it. When is the last time you have a sense of mission and meaning, where you're so enthusiastic about getting up in the morning because you have a message to give the world? Or you have something that you want to live, to grow, to learn? These are questions that lead a person to freedom. A freedom which is not fake. Because even going on vacations and having the best type of pleasure in the world, for that moment, it's the most exciting. And afterwards, it's gone. You know, a lot of people, I deal with all types of Jews, and sometimes very, very, very secular Jews. Rabbi, the Torah, the mitzvot. How do I know it's true? Look, I'm living a good life. So I asked him, how much is, anybody knows here maybe, how much Steve Jobs was worth when he passed away? $75 billion, if I'm not mistaken. Anybody knows here where Steve Jobs is buried? Or when he passed away? How many people visit his resting place on his yard site? Nobody. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai passed away 2,000 years ago. There's almost 1 million people that visit his resting place. And at least a few other millions that celebrate his Hilula around the world. Tell me Judaism is not true? I mean to say, yes, I can have all the pleasures of this world. But is it me having the pleasures, or is it the pleasures having me? Am I really enjoying the full moment? Am I living it up? Why do I need this pleasure? I'm not saying a person should have pleasure. The question is, who is the master, who is the slave? Of course, there are decisions which are very difficult to make in life. I want to tell you, I deal with people for years. When I came out to Golden Beach in the beginning, I was very intimidated by wealthy people, especially at the level of wealth that I deal with. Till I started visiting the homes and saw the children feeling entitled, swearing back at their parents, and seeing chaos and what looked to be, wow, Hollywood. I've seen people with nothing and humility go all the way to the top, and people with ego, with everything, who lose it all. So I'm not impressed anymore. What does impress me is when somebody is looking for the truth. And I've been blessed in my community to have a lot of these people which have But understand, it's all secondary. And again, I'm a big proponent, and the Rebbe is a big proponent that every Jew should be the wealthiest possible, but not a slave to wealth, not a slave to society. If I were to ask you right now to think of what your mission is in the world, what is the contribution you can give to the world that nobody else can give, what would it be? Don't speak it out loud. Think about it. What is a talent that you have that's been maybe suffocated over the years or put in the back burner? What is a gift that you have? A quality that you have that you would like to develop and say, you know what? This is what I can give. When they asked 20 years ago, how much more so today? When they asked kids on college campuses and university, what do you suffer the most of? The majority of them answered loneliness. That doesn't make sense. Because most people have thousands of friends, so-called friends, on social media platforms. How could you be lonely? Because there's nothing like living a real relationship. When I was in Shiva in Manchester, England, I became very close to a friend, and this was in 1992. Today we're in 2025, about 33 years ago. We're still best friends. A true friend. We speak about everything. We're not here to get at each other's throats. We're here to see how we can grow together. How many can say that they have a true friend? They can express whatever they have on their heart, be completely transparent, and say, you know what, I want to grow. So if you ask me what freedom is, Yetziat Mitzrayim, you could ask another question. Why is the coming out of Egypt such a great thing? We were free before we came out of Egypt. We were free after we came out of Egypt. Okay, so for the period of time that we were in Egypt, we were slaves. There's a big difference. When we were in Egypt, it never, in the history of mankind for 2,448 years, it never happened that a slave should ever be freed from slavery. And therefore, the whole concept of freedom didn't exist. It was a dream. Just like it was a dream at the time for the Russians to get out of Russia before the 1992. Once we got out, it's true. We went out and we went to the first exile, the first destruction of the first temple, second temple. But we know that it's possible to be free. It's a question of having a mentality of someone which is free, a state of mind of somebody which is free. You have a person that doesn't have that state of mind, he's always needy. I need the support. How did I do? Was it good? Yeah. Well, what do you think? Or I'm having a conversation with you, And I'm thinking about the other person looking at me on the side. What do they think that I'm talking at the moment that they reacted and they smiled at me? And I have this third me. You know, this little camera of me. It's me watching me do me, and how I'm the center of my life instead of being that my life is at the center of me. Once you're able to free yourself from that, and you have a freedom mentality, I'm just going to be the natural who I am. Okay, so my nose is like this. I used to have curly hair when I was bar mitzvah. I was very cute. And I am just who I am. I want to tell you something. That silence and that freedom we speak about, I think starts from self-acceptance. There's a great question that's asked by the Shiur, and the Rebbe develops this question about Avraham Avinu. Avraham. It says that when Avraham passed away at 175, we should all live so long. He didn't miss one day in his service of Hashem. What? According to one opinion, Avraham only discovered God at the age of 3, another opinion 40, another opinion 48. He only left the house of his father, who was an idol worshiper, at the age of 75. He only did a Brit Milah at the age of 99. How do you say he never missed one day in the service of God? So the Rebbe explains that how did Abraham come to this clear vision of who I am and where am I going, and there's only one God? It's because he experienced all the things he experienced before. So the experience of knowing this is not it, and this is not it, and this is not for me, is a part of knowing what is for me and what is the truth. Many times, because we had this experience and we fell in these thoughts, in these actions, we fell with our eyes, we fell with our bodies, we fell with our emotions, we fell with so many different ways. It's so easy to fall. People even fall in love. Oh, imagine. I never understood this expression, fall in love. It's like, who wants to get married? We have to understand that your life is a beautiful tapestry. A part of the tapestry of your life is the experiences you had in the past that are not so beautiful, that made you so determined to not go there again. Once I'm ready to make, a lot of people, there's they live a dichotomy, a double life. There's the life of me before, and that I buried in some deep, deep place in the sea. And then there's the life I live now. Once you're able to make shalom and say, you know what? I'm born to this family. I've had these experiences, whatever it is, and so many people, unfortunately, went through so many traumatic experiences in life. But if I am who I am today, and I know what I want today, and I know where I'm going, it's thanks to these experiences. it's thanks to this ugly side sometimes that has got me to fight and fight and fight to finally get there. But where's there? One day they asked somebody that went up Mount Everest. They asked him, so how was it? What was the greatest moment when you were on top of the mountain and you were able to see what you accomplished? He said, no. My greatest moment was the last 200-300 meters as I was fighting and I was trying to get up and I was looking down and I was about to give up. That was the greatest. He wasn't getting there. So one day, at the table of Rabbi Shabtai Slavatitsky, a big rabbi in Belgium, he had around this table, as every Shabbat, he invites everybody to say a Jewish experience. And an Israeli soldier decided to say his experience. He said, in order to be accepted to Tzahal, Hashem should protect our soldiers who are at the front and make them successful and give the right strength to the leaders of the country to give carte blanche to the soldiers to get in and finish the job once and for all. He said, in order to be accepted in the army, you have to do what's called masakunta. There's a journey of 3 days where you're carrying a heavy load and you have to walk. You walk in the heat, and you eat, you sleep less, you eat less. So the first day, the general tells us we start. It was really excruciating. It was very hard. We go to sleep after a long day. Nobody takes off their boots. It takes 15 minutes to take off these army boots. 4 o'clock in the morning, get up. And they're starting, they know this is the second day. Lo yemina, lo smola, charei mefaked. Not to the right, not to the left, after the general. And they continue singing stronger and louder. Another day, but now they're exhausted. Sometimes a guy fell on the side, they brought him back in. Let's go, push yourself, push yourself. Teamwork. The third day, they know this is the last day. They wake up with a higher spirit. Not to the right, not to the left, straight after the general. And they're getting there, and suddenly they're getting tired. The heat is worse than the heat in Florida. They're 2 hours from the destination. Not to the right, not to the left, after the general. It's momentum. And they're building the strength. Now they have some of the adrenaline that's going to, we're finished, we're almost there, we're almost there. And they see the horizon. They know this is the destination. So it gets stronger, not to the right, not to the left. And the general continues. He said, what's happening? They're completely taken off balance. What's happening? We got there. He's continuing. Not 10 minutes, not 20 minutes, an hour. And they're getting tired. And at that moment, there's this mix inside of them. On one hand, we want to despair, just give up. On the other hand, this is the time to awaken. Whatever we didn't awaken, that's, just like the song goes, כשהגוף מוותר, הנשמה מתעוררת. Thank you. when the body is about to give up, the soul awakens itself. So suddenly a soldier starts and says, not to the right, not to the left, after the general. And they're going stronger and stronger. And after an hour of this, they finally made it. The general turns around and says, you are worthy of being soldiers in the army, the Israeli army, not for the 3 days of the journey, but for the extra 3 hours after the journey. That's called in English the quantum leap. You're doing something that your mind wasn't prepared for. So tonight, I would like to invite you, as we're in the holiday of Pesach, to take something upon yourself that's going to be that quantum leap, that's going to be that mind opener, that's going to give possibility for the voice of your soul to speak to you and to tell you, you know what, I'm going to do something now. We're now between the days of Pesach and Shavuot. A journey, which is a very interesting journey, because Pesach, God took us out. But to go to Shavuot, we have 49 days of personal inner work that we have to do in transforming ourselves every day a little more. Because to get a present from heaven is beautiful. To know how to keep it and to absorb it, it's in your hands. So I would like everyone here to take upon themselves something that maybe will take them 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I personally have an app on my phone, which you all have, which is extraordinary. It's called Clock. And in Clock, you have what's called Timer. You put a 10-minute timer. You put your phone on silent, and for 10 minutes, you either listen to a Shiur Torah, to a class, or you say daily, you pray, you say brachot, whatever it is. You take upon yourself a mitzvah that's out of your comfort zone. Take a mitzvah upon yourself today till Shavuot. Now we have left another 44 days. 44 days of transformation. And I guarantee you that little few minutes of your day, that action you hold on to, will transform your life and give you an opening into your soul and give you an opening into your personal freedom. That's in the doing positive. In the not doing negative, I would like to suggest, in doing positive, by the way, visiting and influencing other people, even when we think we're not worthy, can actually give you more strength than you can ever believe, and make you discover powers you have had inside of you that were hidden this whole time. On the not negative side, I would like to advise you to cut down the use of social media at least an hour less a day. Since the average American spends 7 hours, an hour less a day, right? 6 hours a day is 36 hours a week if you keep Shabbat. It's a day and a half wasted. Imagine if that day and a half, 36 hours you spent learning about how to be whatever you want to become, but become that person. Let me conclude with one story. One day in New York City, there's this father that brings his son, Yossi, 6 years old, before the great invention of the iPad
and all the different devices or vices. It's Education Day in America. America is full of paradoxes. On Labor Day, people don't work. On Education Day, kids don't have school. So here we go. Little Yossi is there, and he said, "Daddy, I'm bored." 9 a.m. His father tells him, play with your cards. Play with your cards. 15 minutes later, "Daddy, I'm done. I played with my cards." "Okay, you know what? Here's some paper and pen. Go draw." 15 minutes later, he comes back and finished drawing. Boy, what am I going to do with this kid? I'm not going to get any work done. It's Monday morning. He opens a newspaper and he sees a map of the world. So right away, he takes a cutter and cuts it into 50 pieces, mixes up together. He says, "Yossi, go put the world together. Go in the conference room with the glass table, go put the world together." Lo and behold, Yossi comes back. "Daddy, what? Daddy, I finished the puzzle, I put the world together." "Yossi, please, leave me alone, I need to work now." "Daddy, come and see." And he goes in the conference room. Alaska, under Alaska, Canada, under Canada, the US, under the US, half a wall, then Mexico. Well, actually, it's not half a wall anymore, it's gone. He asked him, "How did you do that? You're 6 years old, you barely know how to read." So with a smirk on his face, Yossi says, "Tati, tell you the truth, on the other side of the newspaper, there was a picture of a man. Once I put the man together, the whole world came together." If you want the world to be in the right place, make sure that you're put together. Thank you very much.
If you have any questions, we'll take questions. No questions? Okay, get to work. God bless you. Whenever there are topics that you're interested in discussing, you can text Daniel and he'll tell me what topics you would like to discuss. Thank you very much.